Hey, welcome in. Tonight we're stepping away from the village road, away from barking dogs, wagon wheels, market noise, and smoke hanging over thatched roofs at the end of a long medieval day. We're going somewhere quieter, somewhere colder, somewhere built to make time feel different. Tonight we're arriving at a medieval monastery just before nightfall. The sun is low and the landscape has softened into blue-gray shadow. The road beneath your feet is uneven, pressed down by hooves, boots, carts, and rain. It smells of damp earth, animal sweat, wood smoke, and crushed grass. Ahead, beyond the fields, stands the monastery. At first, it looks like a small stone world. A wall runs around it, not always grand or built for war, but strong enough to mark a boundary. Outside is weather, hunger, gossip, travelers, livestock, argument, and fear. Inside is another kind of life, governed by bells, vows, psalms, silence, work, and obedience. The wall says one thing clearly: this place is separate. The monastery may be Benedictine, Cistercian, or another order entirely. Some houses were wealthy, old, and beautifully built. Others were poorer, rougher, and more exposed to weather and harvest, but many shared a familiar shape. The church at the center, the cloister beside it, the refectory for meals, the dormitory for sleep, the chapter house for correction and business, the infirmary for the sick, the guest house for visitors, and the barns, kitchens, and workshops that kept the holy place alive. That is one of the first surprises about a monastery. It is holy, yes. It is also busy. Prayer alone does not bake bread, tend sheep, brew ale, repair roofs, care for a feverish old brother, or feed the poor at the gate. The monastery is planted firmly in the soil. It owns land, stores grain, keeps animals, manages tenants, settles disputes, prays for the dead, and counts sacks of barley. Near the gate, the first sound is not chanting, not yet. It is the dull creak of a hinge, the scrape of wood, and someone speaking low. The gatehouse is where travelers are welcomed, questioned, delayed, blessed, or turned away. The porter is not merely opening a door. He is guarding a threshold. A monk is supposed to see Christ in the guest, especially the poor and the pilgrim. But medieval roads carry more than holy travelers. They carry thieves, deserters, merchants, messengers, beggars, nobles with armed servants, and men who would rather not explain themselves. The air changes as you wait. The stones hold the day's last warmth badly, and evening damp begins to rise. You can smell old mortar, wet leaves, kitchen smoke, and animals somewhere beyond the main buildings. A horse stamps in a stable, water moves through a channel nearby. The porter looks you over. Then you are admitted into the outer court. Inside the wall, the first impression is order. Paths lead where they are meant to lead. The church dominates the complex, larger and more solemn than everything around it. Its tower, or bellcote, rises into the dimming sky. Near the church lies the cloister, a covered walkway surrounding an open garth, a patch of grass or garden open to the sky. From here, a monk can pass to the church, chapter house, refectory, dormitory stairs, and other rooms without stepping fully into the weather. But the cloister is more than a corridor. It is where the monastery breathes. Men walk there in thought, read, pray, wait, and move silently between duties. At night, the open center will become a dark square of sky. A few monks cross with lowered eyes. You might see dark wool habits in a Benedictine house, or pale, undyed garments in a Cistercian one. The cloth is simple, heavy, and practical. The life is meant to be stripped of vanity, though no human community becomes free of irritation, status, preference, or pride. The men here are not all the same. At the head of an abbey is the abbot, spiritual father, administrator, judge, and disciplinarian. Under him may be the prior. The cellarer oversees food, drink, tools, fuel, and supplies. The sacristan cares for the church's vessels, lights, books, and vestments. The infirmarier tends the sick and elderly. The novice master trains the new. The guest master receives those who come from outside. There are professed monks, novices, lay brothers, servants, tenants, craftsmen, and workers whose lives connect to the monastery without being identical to the monks' lives. So the monastery is not a single mood. It is a whole community arranged around a sacred promise. Farther out are the spaces that make it survive. Barns, granaries, bakehouses, brewhouses, dairies, fish ponds, gardens, orchards, stables, workshops, storehouses, perhaps a mill, and a cemetery where generations of monks lie beneath simple markers. There may be an infirmary set slightly apart, quieter, and sometimes warmer. There may be a guest house, because hospitality is a duty. Though a bishop, a noble patron, a poor pilgrim, and a wandering scholar do not bring the same expectations through the gate. The monastery receives them all if it can, but it does not absorb them into the same silence. Monks may be silent in the cloister while servants speak softly near the kitchen. Guests may whisper in their lodging while choir monks prepare for prayer. The monastery is ordered, but it is not frozen. By now, the last light is thinning. The western sky has gone pale gold while the upper air deepens into blue. The church windows dim. Somewhere, water is poured into a basin. Somewhere else, a brother closes a shutter. The smell from the kitchen grows stronger. Boiled vegetables, bread, ale, perhaps fish, perhaps herbs, perhaps old smoke trapped in beams and stone. A monastery at this hour does not feel empty. It feels expectant. Everything is turning toward the bell. The bell is the monastery's true clock. It interrupts sleep, ends labor, and calls men from the garden, copying desk, kitchen, infirmary, guesthouse, orchard, stableyard, cloister, and private corners of thought. It does not ask whether you are tired, cold, or almost finished. It tells the community that time belongs first to God. In the monastery, time is not primarily personal. You do not own the evening. The day and night are broken into appointed moments of prayer. Vespers as evening comes on. Compline before sleep. The great night office in the dark hours. Lauds near dawn. Then the day offices through the light. Not every monastery followed the same schedule in exactly the same way. Seasons, local custom, order, wealth, climate, and human weakness all mattered. Still, the idea remains. Monastic life seeks to sanctify time by returning to prayer again and again. So tonight, you are not only entering a building, you are entering a rhythm. Outside, night brings thieves, fire, sickness, difficult roads, dangerous strangers, and darkness in a world with little artificial light. Inside the monastery, night is also feared, but it is given a shape. It is divided. It is prayed through. The bell cuts darkness into pieces. The psalms fill it. The men here train themselves to wake while others sleep, to sing while breath fogs in the cold air, and to believe their prayers matter for benefactors, villagers, the sick, the dead, and souls written into the monastery's memory. As evening deepens, footsteps grow softer. The rough talk of workers fades behind you. Near the cloister, the air cools. The stone paving holds the damp. In the garth, the grass darkens as the last light drains away. A monastery may be safer than many homes outside its walls, but safety is not comfort. The stones are cold. The rule is demanding. The food is plain. The sleep is broken. Privacy is rare. Personal preference is treated with suspicion. The body belongs to the routine. The voice belongs to the choir. The will is supposed to bend. Still, for many, this life offers order, purpose, shelter, literacy, continuity, and a place in a community that claims to stand between earth and heaven. You feel the monastery quieting now. Not completely. The kitchen still has work. The porter still watches. Someone in the infirmary coughs. A horse shifts in its stall. The wind moves along the cloister roof. but the main current of the house is drawing toward prayer. Then the bell begins. It rolls through stone and air with a weight that seems older than the hand that pulled it. The sound spreads over roofs, cloister, court, wall, and darkening fields. A servant pauses with a bucket. A guest in the guest house raises his head. In the cloister, the monks begin to move. The bell calls them to Vespers. Evening prayer. The day is not over because the light is fading. The day must be handed over properly. It must be sung into darkness. One by one, the brothers enter the church, and you follow them toward the heavy doorway, into the dimness where stone holds the cold. Candles wait to be lit, and the first voices of the night are about to rise. The church receives you in dimness. The doorway is heavy behind you. The air inside is colder than the air outside, as if the stone has been saving the chill all day. The floor is hard beneath every footstep. The walls rise into shadow. The last evening light slips through narrow windows and fades before it reaches the corners. This is where the day is handed over. Vespers is the evening office, one of the appointed hours of prayer that shapes the monastery's life. To someone from outside, it may seem strange that a whole community stops because a bell has rung. But here, the bell is command, reminder, and measure. It tells every monk that the day does not belong entirely to labor, hunger, weather, or private thought. It belongs to the rhythm of prayer. The brothers move into their places in the choir. Their steps are quiet but not careless. Each man knows where he belongs. Older monks, officers of the house, younger professed brothers, and novices still learning how to stand, bow, listen, and keep still. The choir's stalls face one another across the space. The chanting is often antiphonal, with one side answering the other, voices crossing the darkness like a slow exchange of breath. No one is performing. The singing belongs to the office itself. A novice shifts his weight too loudly. A senior brother notices. Nothing is said. The lesson is received anyway. Candles are lit, though not enough to make the church bright. Medieval light is precious. Wax can be costly, oil must be managed, and open flame always carries danger. So the candles burn with small authority, enough to reveal faces, hands, books, and the pale edge of stone. The abbot may be present, seated according to custom. He is not simply in charge of a building. He is the spiritual father of the community, responsible for souls, discipline, property, order, and reputation. If he is absent, the prior may guide the office. Either way, the prayer proceeds with the seriousness of something older than any one man. Then the voices begin. Not loudly at first. They rise together, low and steady, filling the cold air. Latin moves through the church. Some brothers understand it well. Some understand enough. Some have learned by repetition, sound, memory, and correction. The Psalms are the bones of the monastic day. Praise, fear, sorrow, hope, anger, trust, repentance, and longing. All shaped into words sung long before these men were born. The sound does not rush. It lengthens. It rests against the stone. A chant in a medieval church is not just heard, it is felt in the body. Voices gather under the roof and return softened. A cough seems too sharp. The scrape of a shoe feels too human. A turning page can sound enormous when everyone else is still. Outside, evening continues without them. Smoke rises from cottages. Animals settle. Travelers look for shelter. Somewhere a gate is barred. Somewhere else a man walks quickly because the road is darkening. Inside the church, the monks sing. This is not leisure after work. Many of these men are tired. Some have worked in gardens, kitchens, storage rooms, writing spaces, guest areas, barns, or offices of administration. Some have read, copied, taught, carried messages, corrected accounts, or stood in prayer again and again since before full daylight. Vespers does not arrive because they feel ready. It arrives because the time has come. That is the discipline. The office may include psalms, antiphons, a hymn, a short reading, responses, and prayers, depending on order, date, season, and local custom. Feast days may change the tone. Lent may make the mood leaner. Winter may make the darkness heavier. Summer may leave more light clinging to the windows. Vespers is evening praise. It is also a kind of surrender. The monks are not pretending the world outside is gentle. Many came from families who knew hunger, politics, illness, and loss. Some were given to religious life young. Some entered by choice. Some may have come with ambition, fear, grief, or genuine devotion. Whatever brought them here, the bell has gathered them into the same sound. Their voices are not identical. One is thin and dry. One is low and worn. One belongs to a young man still learning restraint. One trembles slightly with age. Together they become the voice of the house. The church itself seems built to teach humility. It makes the individual body small. Pillars rise above human height. Stone keeps its own silence. The altar stands ahead, carrying the focus of the place. Depending on wealth and order, the church may hold side chapels, lamps, relics, painted images, carved figures, or plain white walls. Even in a plainer church, the space is filled with purpose. The monks stand. They bow. They sit. They rise again. The body learns prayer through repetition. No one asks whether the knees are sore or the back aches. A man may arrive distracted, annoyed, sleepy, or cold. The office gives him something to do with his body until the mind follows, or at least quiets enough not to disturb the rest. Outside, time is pulled by hunger, weather, daylight, and necessity. Inside, those things still matter, but they are interrupted by prayer. Again and again, the bell says, "Stop, come back, remember, sing." The psalms move from one side of the choir to the other. A line rises. A line answers. The chant is simple enough to carry, but disciplined enough to require attention. A careless voice can drag the rhythm. A wandering mind can miss an entrance. Correction may come later in the chapter house. For now, the community keeps moving through the office. In the dimness, faces become less distinct. You notice hands holding books, the edge of sleeves, bowed heads, candlelight on skin, and mouths slowly forming familiar words. The books themselves matter. A monastery's worship depends on written memory, psalters, antiphanaries, lectionaries, hymnals, and other service books, depending on period and place. These are not casual objects. They require parchment or paper, ink, labor, storage, care, and protection. In the fading light, the brother who handles one does so carefully. A candle flame leans. Wax softens. The chant continues. Now the outside light is nearly gone. The windows have become dark shapes holding only a trace of sky. The church is turning inward. The monastery is being gathered out of the day and folded into the first layer of night. There is comfort in the sound, but not softness. This comfort is made from order. The same prayers have returned through storms, funerals, feast days, arguments, harvest failures, sickness, and ordinary boredom. A monk may feel unworthy, tired, or empty. Still, the words are there, waiting for him. The office carries the man when the man cannot carry himself. For the visitor, it can be hard to tell where one voice ends and another begins. The chant is communal by design. The monastery gives each monk a structure, words, a place to stand, and brothers on either side. That structure can feel severe. It can also feel like shelter. Vespers deepens. The words of praise mingle with the last breath of evening. The day's work is not erased, but offered. The ache from lifting, the ink stain on a finger, the worry over accounts, the impatience with a younger brother, the memory of a guest's request, the small pride of doing a task well. This is not a world without emotion. It is a world trying to discipline emotion into prayer. The medieval monastery is not made of perfect men. It is made of men practicing a rule. That difference matters. The office nears its close. The rhythm shifts. The community moves through the final responses with long habit. A bowed head. A shared phrase. A silence. A blessing. The church seems colder now, though perhaps only because the body has been still. For a few moments after the last sound, the quiet feels larger than before. Chant changes silence. Before the office, silence was waiting. After the office, silence is full. The brothers begin to move again, slowly, still under discipline. Outside the church, evening has become night. The cloister waits in shadow, the garth is dark. The covered walks hold the last echoes of footsteps. The air smells colder now, with damp stone, old smoke, and the faint nearness of supper. The day has been sung down. But the monks are not yet free to sleep. They will wash. They will enter the refectory. They will eat under silence, while a reader's voice rises above bowls, bread, and benches. And after that, before the monastery surrenders to its first sleep, Compline will come. The final prayer. The closing of the day. The careful locking of the world outside. The brothers leave the church quietly. The last notes of Vespers have faded, but the silence still feels shaped by them. The monks do not spill into conversation. The office has ended, but the discipline remains. Outside, night has settled over the cloister. The garth is a dark square open to the sky. The covered walkways smell of damp stone and old wood. A faint line of light shows from the kitchen. Somewhere near the gatehouse, the porter listens for late footsteps on the road. But the community moves toward the refectory. Before they eat, they wash. Near the refectory, many monasteries have a lavatorium, a washing place where the brothers clean their hands before meals. The water is cold. One brother pours. Another receives. Drops fall against stone. This is not only cleanliness, it is preparation. Even hunger must enter the meal properly. The refectory waits nearby. It is a long room, practical and solemn at once. Tables stretch through the space. Benches stand beside them. Lamps or candles give enough light to see bowls, bread, pitchers, and hands, but not enough to remove night from the corners. The room smells of wood, ale, damp cloth, cooked vegetables, smoke, and old meals absorbed into beams and boards. The monks enter in order. Each knows where to sit. Like the church, the refectory has its pattern: rank, age, office, and custom matter. A novice does not wander to whatever place feels comfortable. A monk does not treat supper as private refreshment. The community eats together because the community lives together. At one side, there may be a raised reading place or lectern. This matters. The meal will not be filled with chatter. One brother reads aloud while the others eat. The words may come from scripture, a saint's life, a sermon, or another approved text. The reader must speak clearly enough to be heard above bowls, cups, benches, and the small sounds of eating. The monks listen, or they try to. Hunger has its own voice. A tired brother may find his attention pulled toward the bread in front of him, the warmth rising from a bowl, the sound of ale being poured, or the relief of sitting. The rule asks him to receive food with gratitude, restraint, and silence. Silence in the refectory is not the same as silence in the church. The church silence feels drawn upward by altar, chant, and prayer. The refectory silence lives closer to the body. It lives among spoons, bread crusts, tired shoulders, cold fingers, and stomachs that have waited for the bell. The food depends on the house, season, wealth, and rule. A rich abbey may eat better than a poor priory. A strict order may keep a plainer table. Feast days may bring more generous dishes. Fast days may reduce the meal. Lent may make everything leaner. There may be bread. There may be pottage, beans, peas, leeks, onions, cabbage, herbs, or root vegetables. There may be fish, especially where meat is restricted for healthy monks. There may be eggs, cheese, fruit, nuts, ale, or wine, depending on place and custom. The table is not endless abundance, but it is not always starvation either. Monastic houses often had stores, fisheries, mills, gardens, orchards, and tenants. Their food could be plain, repetitive, and rule-bound, yet more secure than what many poor people outside the walls could expect. Outside the gate, hunger can become desperate. Inside, hunger is disciplined. The cellarer has helped make this meal possible. He must think about grain, drink, storage, portions, tools, servants, repairs, fuel, guests, alms, shortages, and waste. A careless cellarer can trouble the whole house. A wise one can steady the monastery through bad weather and lean seasons. The kitchen has done its work too. Beyond the refectory wall, cooks and helpers have spent hours in heat, steam, smoke, and noise. Pots have been stirred, bread handled, vegetables cut, fires watched, water carried, ashes shifted. The monastery's quiet rests on labor that is not always quiet. Now the bowls are in front of the brothers. The reader begins. His voice rises above the room. A saint's life, perhaps, a passage of scripture, a warning against pride, a meditation on humility. Even while eating, the monk is not released fully into appetite. His ears are kept under instruction. A brother reaches for bread. Another lifts his bowl. A cup is passed. The sounds are small, careful, and human. No one asks across the table for more stew. No one jokes about the cook. No one complains aloud that the fish is too salty, the bread too hard, the ale too sour, or the portion too small. Needs may be signaled by gesture. Speech is not to be spent casually. For a visitor, this can feel strange. A room full of men eating together, and yet no conversation, no gossip, no argument, no easy laughter, only the reader's voice, the movement of hands, and the soft sounds of the meal. But silence does not mean nothing is happening. One monk may be irritated by the brother beside him, another may be grateful for a warmer bowl than expected, a novice may be trying not to spill, an elderly monk may chew slowly, one brother may already be thinking of the night office still to come. The body is always present in monastic life. It is managed, fed, corrected, warmed when necessary, deprived when required, rested briefly, woken again, bent in prayer, sent to work, and taught not to rule the soul. That is the difficult balance of the refectory. The monks must eat enough to live. They must not love eating too much. They must receive the meal with thanks. They must not turn it into entertainment. This is why the refectory can feel almost as disciplined as the church, though in a more earthly way. The church gathers voices. The refectory gathers appetites. Both must be ordered. The reader continues. Perhaps he reads of endurance, temptation, obedience, mercy, or a warning against murmuring, that quiet habit of complaint that rules often treats seriously. A sigh, a look, a muttered word, a little resentment passed from brother to brother, these can trouble a house built on obedience. And a monastery is close living. Very close. The same men pray beside one another, eat beside one another, sleep near one another, work under the same authority, hear the same corrections, and return to the same spaces every day. So the meal teaches restraint. Not perfectly. No rule makes human beings simple. But the form is always there, pulling them back. A bowl is emptied. Bread disappears piece by piece. A pitcher moves carefully down the table. Someone coughs. The reader turns a page. The room smells warmer now, filled with breath and food. The cold has not gone away. It is only being held back by bodies, lamps, steam, and habit. On ordinary days, the meal may be plain. On feast days, it may feel almost generous. Fasting and feasting teach time through the body. The tongue learns the season. The stomach learns the church year. But not everyone eats the same. The sick may be treated differently. In the infirmary, older or ill monks might receive foods not allowed to the healthy brothers. Medieval discipline could be strict, but it was not always blind to frailty. The guest may also eat differently. A noble visitor may expect more ceremony. A poor pilgrim may receive simpler food. Hospitality is holy, but it is also managed by status, resources, and order. Inside the refectory, the brothers finish. They do not linger over the table. Here, the meal has a beginning, a shape, and an end. When the signal comes, bowls are set aside, benches shift, the reader closes the book, thanks are given. The community rises. Again, the body is trained. Stand together. Move together. Do not turn relief into disorder. The refectory begins to empty. Behind the monks, work remains. Bowls must be cleared, tables wiped, leftovers handled, cups gathered, fires watched. The kitchen does not become clean by prayer alone. Outside, the cloister has darkened fully. The monks move back through covered walks where the night air is colder after the warmth of the meal. The garth is black now, except perhaps for a faint wash of sky above it. The stones seem slick with damp. The body wants sleep. That desire is simple. A full stomach, tired limbs, a cold building, a wool garment, and long habit all draw the mind toward the dormitory. But the monastery is not finished with the day yet. There is still Compline, the final prayer before sleep, the office that closes the mouth, settles the house, and places the night under protection. So the brothers do not disappear into their beds. Not yet. They move again toward prayer, carrying supper quietly inside them. Bread, ale, vegetables, fish perhaps, the reader's words, the ache of the day, and the knowledge that even sleep will not belong entirely to them. The monastery has eaten. Now it must prepare to close itself against the dark. The monastery has eaten. Now it must close itself against the dark. The brothers move from the refectory back into the night air of the cloister. The warmth of supper fades quickly. The stone seems colder after bread, ale, vegetables, and silence. The garth lies open under the sky. Above it, the first stars may be visible, though clouds, mist, or smoke can hide them. Around it, the covered walks hold darkness beneath their arches. Footsteps pass softly over stone. No one drifts into conversation. The house is moving toward Compline. Compline is the last office before sleep. It is the prayer that places a border around the night. The day is being completed, gathered and surrendered. Work has been done, food has been eaten. Evening praise has been sung. Now the community asks for protection through the dark hours, because in the medieval imagination, night is not empty. Night is vulnerable. It is when the body sleeps and cannot defend itself. It is when thieves travel more boldly, illness worsens, fires spread unseen, animals panic, strangers knock, and anxious thoughts grow larger than they seemed by daylight. And for monks, night is also a time of spiritual danger. Temptation may come in dreams, fear may rise in silence, old memories may return. A man may lie awake under wool and discover that his mind is not as obedient as his body appears to be. The monastery knows this. It surrounds sleep with prayer. The brothers enter the church again. It is darker now. The last natural light has gone. Candles and lamps do the work daylight can no longer do. Their flames make small islands against the stone. Shadows lean behind pillars. Faces appear and disappear as men move into place. At Vespers, the day was still fading. At Compline, the day is nearly gone. There is less of the world left in the windows, less color, less movement. The building has turned inward. The monks take their places. The prayers of Compline are often quieter in mood than Vespers. They carry a sense of watching, guarding, confessing, and resting. The office may include psalms, a hymn, a short reading, a response, and prayers asking for safety through the night. Exact forms vary, but the emotional shape is clear. The community prepares to lie down under God's care. A body can be exhausted and still afraid. Compline speaks to that. The chant begins. It is lower, more enclosed, almost as if the monastery is speaking to itself before sleep. The voices are tired now. Some monks sing with steadiness born from long habit. Others feel their attention thinning. A novice fights the heaviness behind his eyes. An older monk knows every turn of the office so well that the words rise from memory before thought. The candles burn. The stone holds the sound. The brothers sing of protection, mercy, and peace. There may be confession of fault. There may be a plea to be guarded. There may be words that imagine the soul resting through darkness. The monks know that not every man who lies down will rise easily. Fever can worsen before dawn. A fire can start in straw, timber, or lamp oil. A traveler can pound at the gate with bad news. The night office will come before morning, and sleep will be broken even if nothing else goes wrong. So Compline does not promise comfort. It asks for keeping. Comfort means the body gets what it wants. Keeping means the soul is not abandoned when the body is tired, cold, uncertain, and half afraid. The chant continues. In the dim church, small things become vivid. A sleeve brushing wood, a candle flame bending, a book closing softly, breath moving in the cold air, a bowed head remaining bowed a little longer than the others. A man may bring the whole day into this office, a careless word, a resentment, a moment of pride, a memory of family, a quiet gratitude for food and shelter, or a dread of being woken in the deep night. Compline receives all of it without asking the man to explain himself aloud. The community sings. The individual heart struggles quietly inside the common sound. That is one of the strange mercies of monastic life. A monk does not always have to carry himself by himself. The office carries him. The rule carries him. The brother beside him carries the next line of chant when his own mind wanders. The bell will carry him from sleep. The community will carry him into the church before dawn. This can feel strict. It can also feel like being held inside a pattern stronger than the moods of one tired man. When the office nears its end, the church seems to grow even stiller. The final prayers gather the house into silence. The monks bow. The candles tremble. A blessing may be given. The day at last is closed. But the closing is not only spiritual, it is practical. After Compline, the monastery enters the great silence, the deeper silence of the night. Speech becomes even more restricted. The mouth is guarded. The mind is supposed to settle. Monks do not wander into chatter because the day is ended. They move as men under rule. The outer world must be secured too. Doors are checked. Gates are barred. Lamps are watched. Fires are banked or guarded. Tools are put away. Animals are shut in. The porter's work becomes more serious as darkness thickens. A late knock at the gate is not ignored, but it is not treated lightly either. Hospitality remains a duty, yet caution is part of wisdom. Somewhere in the outer court, a latch drops. Somewhere near the kitchen, embers are managed. Somewhere in the guest house, a traveler lies under a blanket, listening to the unfamiliar quiet of holy walls. Somewhere in the infirmary, a sick brother turns slowly on his bed. The monastery is closing, but it is not dead. It is entering a different kind of wakefulness. The sacristan may still have duties. The church must be ready for the night office. Books must be in place. Lamps and candles must be prepared. Vestments, vessels, bells, and keys all belong to a world of careful responsibility. Sacred things are also physical things. They can be misplaced, damaged, stolen, or forgotten. A monastery depends on holiness. It also depends on competent men remembering small tasks. The brothers leave the church. The cloister receives them again, darker than before. The garth is almost invisible except as a square of open night. The arches seem deeper. Damp has settled into the stone. If there is wind, it moves low along the covered walk, carrying wet earth and old smoke. No one speaks unless necessary. The silence after Compline is different from the silence before it. Before Compline, the monastery was still moving toward closure. After Compline, the closure has been made. The day is sealed. Now the brothers move toward the dormitory. The body understands this part well. Tiredness rises quickly once the final prayer has ended. The stomach has been fed. The voice has sung. The feet know the path. The mind begins to loosen its grip on the day. But the monastery sleep will not be like modern sleep. It will be brief. It will be communal. It will be watched by rule. It will be interrupted. The monks know this. A novice may still find it difficult, still startled by how little of his body belongs to him. An older monk may no longer think much about it. Habit can make hardship ordinary. Along the way, the brothers may pass the chapter house door, closed now in darkness. By day, that room holds correction, instruction, and the business of the community. At night, it waits silently beside the cloister. They may pass the way toward the refectory, now emptying of warmth. They may hear servants finishing work beyond the formal quiet of the monks. They may smell damp wool, lamp smoke, and the fading trace of supper. The monastery is full of boundaries, sacred and ordinary, silent and speaking, guest and monk, sick and healthy, outer court and cloister, day and night. Compline has drawn one of the most important boundaries of all. Before it, the day could still speak. After it, the night must be held. A monk who has something to say must often keep it. A thought that feels urgent must wait. A complaint must be swallowed. A laugh must be restrained. A question must rest until morning unless obedience, danger, or necessity requires otherwise. This restraint can feel severe, but it has a purpose. Speech loosens the mind. Conversation wakes old concerns. A careless word can disturb another man's peace. So the monastery protects silence almost as carefully as it protects fire. Both can spread. Both can warm. Both can damage. The brothers reach the way to the dormitory. Some houses have a stair from the cloister to the sleeping area. Arrangements vary by period and design, but the idea is practical. The monks must be able to move from sleep to church quickly when the night office calls. The building itself supports obedience. The dormitory waits above or nearby. It is not a private bedroom. It is a communal place of rest, where men lie down near one another under the eye of rule and custom. Beds may be simple, bedding may be plain. The air may be cold enough that a man can feel it before he reaches his place. But before we enter fully, pause for a moment at the threshold. Listen behind you. The church is quiet now, but not empty of meaning. The refectory is darkening. The kitchen is settling. The gate is barred. The guest house breathes with strangers. The infirmary keeps its own softer vigil. The cemetery lies under the night air. The barns hold animals in their warmth and smell. And above all of it, the bell waits. Silent for now, but not finished. It will return. For now, the monastery is closed against the dark. The brothers step towards sleep, and the night gathers around the walls. The dormitory waits above or nearby, depending on the shape of the monastery. Some houses place it over the chapter house or along the cloister range. Some have stairs leading quickly from the sleeping space down into the church. The details vary, but the purpose is practical. When the bell calls in the night, the monks must rise and reach prayer without confusion. The building itself teaches obedience. A passage does not ask where you feel like going. A stair does not ask whether you are ready. The route from dormitory to church is built into the stone, and the body learns it through repetition. The brothers enter the dormitory. It is not a private room. It is a communal sleeping hall shaped by rule, supervision, and necessity. Beds may stand in rows. Some may be divided by simple partitions and later arrangements, but the older idea remains clear. The monks sleep near one another as a disciplined body. The air is cold. That is the first thing you feel. The church was cold, the cloister was cold, and now the dormitory is cold too. Stone and timber do not become gentle at night. In winter, the chill seems to come from everywhere at once. Floor, walls, bedding, darkness, even silence. A monk goes to his bed. The bed is simple. There may be a wooden frame, a mattress stuffed with straw, wool, chaff, or other available material, and blankets of wool or rough cloth. This is not luxury. It is rest made plain. The blanket may be heavy. The mattress may be uneven. The air may smell of wool, old straw, damp timber, bodies, lamp smoke, and the faint trace of the day's work carried in cloth. No one expects perfection from the bed. The bed has one task. It must hold the body long enough for the bell to take it back. That is the truth of sleep here. Sleep is allowed. Sleep is needed. But sleep is not fully yours. The rule of Saint Benedict, which shaped many Western monastic communities, treats sleep as part of order. Monks are to sleep ready enough to rise quickly. The night office matters more than private comfort. Even rest is placed under obedience. For a modern person, this may feel severe. But for the monk, it becomes ordinary. A man learns to sleep knowing he will be woken. He learns how to stand while still half inside a dream. He learns which floorboard complains, which brother coughs, which stair is colder underfoot, and which corner catches the draft. The novice learns slowly. He may miss his former bed, a mother's voice, siblings, a familiar yard, or the freedom to turn over and sleep past the hour of prayer. If he chose the cloister, he may still discover that choosing a holy life is easier than living one when the body is tired. At night, ideals become physical. Obedience is not just an idea when the blanket is warm and the bell will soon ring. Humility is not just an idea when a senior monk corrects your lateness. Poverty is not just an idea when the bed is hard. Stability is not just an idea when you realize you may sleep within these walls for the rest of your life. The older monks know this already. Some lie down with the careful movements of age. Knees ache, backs complain, hands stiffen in the cold. A monk who entered young may now know the monastery better than he knows his own face. The walls have watched him grow older. The bells have measured his years. The dormitory receives all of them. The young, the old, the certain, the doubtful, the peaceful, the restless. No one is fully alone. That can comfort a man. It can also wear on him. Communal sleep means another brother's cough enters your dreams. Another brother's turning wakes you. A creaking bed, a footstep in the dark, damp garments, and someone breathing too loudly all become part of the night. Privacy is rare in a monastery. The brothers settle. One by one, forms lower onto beds. Wool is drawn close. Sandals or shoes may be placed nearby. Clothing is arranged so rising will not take long. One monk may keep his mind on a psalm. Another may fall asleep before finishing a thought. Another may lie awake, listening. The dormitory is not silent all at once. It becomes silent by degrees. First there is movement, then smaller movement, then breath, then the occasional cough, then the building itself. Wood shifts. Wind presses along the wall. A shutter moves faintly. Somewhere below, a door settles into its frame. The whole monastery seems to be lowering its voice. But the dormitory is not abandoned to darkness without care. Light must be handled carefully. Too much flame is dangerous. Too little makes movement difficult when the bell calls. Fire is always a concern near timber, straw, bedding, and stored goods. A careless flame can turn holy order into panic, so the night is watched. Not with modern brightness, with caution, with memory, with men who know that sleep must never become carelessness. The dormitory may connect to the reread order, the latrine block, depending on the design. Even monks have bodies that interrupt dignity. Latrines may be placed over a flowing drain where engineering allows it, carrying waste away from the sleeping quarters. Still, no arrangement removes the body from monastic life. Cold wakes it. Hunger teaches it. Illness humbles it. Sleep claims it. The rule trains it, and the bell commands it. Somewhere nearby is the night stair. It is the path between sleep and prayer. In many monastic layouts, it gives direct access from the dormitory to the church, so the community can move quickly to the night office. It is not decorative. It is obedience cut into architecture. When the bell rings later, men will rise from their beds and move toward that stair. Not fully awake. Not fully rested, but expected. For now, the stair waits. The bell waits too. Because the bell waits, sleep is different. A monk may sink into rest, but not ownership. He does not get to say, "This night is mine." The monastery has already decided for him. The bell will speak, and the body will answer. This sounds harsh, and sometimes it is. Yet there is mercy in not having to decide. The weary monk does not invent the night. The offices are given, the bed is given, the waking is given, the path is given, the words are given. Even when devotion feels thin, the structure remains. He only has to obey the next bell. In the dormitory, the first layer of sleep begins to settle. A young brother turns under his blanket, trying to find warmth. An older brother breathes slowly, already halfway gone into rest. Someone coughs once, then becomes quiet. Another man lies awake, staring into darkness. Perhaps he thinks of the road beyond the gate. Perhaps of a village he left behind. Perhaps of a face he remembers. Perhaps of a sin confessed too often. Perhaps of a task waiting in the morning. Perhaps of death, because medieval people did not need reminders that death was near. It was present in the cemetery, the infirmary, the prayers, the fevers, the accidents, and the memory of brothers who once slept in this same room. The dormitory is full of the living. It is also full of absence. Every monastery carries its dead. They are buried outside, prayed for inside, named in records, and remembered on anniversaries. Their beds have been filled by others. Their voices have disappeared from the choir. But the rhythm continues. The individual passes. The office remains. The bell remains. The monastery remains, if war, plague, debt, reform, fire, politics, or neglect do not unmake it. In this first sleep, dreams may come quickly. Dreams mattered in medieval thought, but they could be troubling. A dream might be dismissed as wandering imagination, feared as temptation, or remembered as warning, comfort, or confusion. Even in sleep, the soul feels watched. But the body is tired, and tired bodies sleep. The room grows heavier. Breathing deepens. The cold presses against blankets. The last faint movements fade. Beyond the dormitory, the monastery continues its quieter life. The porter keeps his place. The guest house settles. The infirmary breathes uneasily. The kitchen embers lower. The church waits in darkness. The cloister gathers damp. The cemetery lies still, and the night stare remains between bed and prayer like a promise. For a little while the brothers sleep. Not long. Not deeply enough to forget where they are, but enough for the body to loosen. Enough for cold hands to warm beneath wool. Enough for the mind to drift away from rule, food, chant, correction, and labor. enough for the monastery to seem, for a brief span, almost still. Almost. Because in the heart of this quiet, time is moving. The night is not empty. The office is coming. And somewhere above the sleeping house, unseen in the dark, the bell waits for the hour when it will call every tired body back to stone, candlelight, and song. For a little while the brothers sleep. But the monastery is not truly asleep. It has quieted, darkened, and pulled its community into wool blankets and shared breath. Yet beneath that quiet, certain duties continue. The night belongs to rest, but not only to rest. Someone keeps watch. Someone remembers the fire. Someone listens for the gate. Someone tends the sick. Someone makes sure the church will be ready when the bell calls the community back. Begin near the gatehouse. The porter's world is narrow at night, but important. Beyond the gate lies the road, and the road is never completely trustworthy. By daylight, it brings carts, pilgrims, tenants, beggars, clerics, messengers, and merchants. At night, it becomes an uncertain strip of darkness between fields, hedges, woods, and villages. A monastery is meant to be hospitable. But hospitality does not mean foolishness. If someone knocks late, the porter must decide what kind of need is pressing against the wood. It may be a delayed traveler, an urgent messenger, a poor man seeking shelter, someone sick or frightened, or trouble wearing the face of need. The porter listens before he opens. A voice outside can tell him much, calm or desperate, drunk or weak with cold, alone or surrounded, asking for charity or demanding entry. The gate is a spiritual place, but it is also a practical barrier. On the inside are food stores, sleeping men, guests, animals, sacred vessels, books, and the fragile order of the house. On the outside is the dark. Farther within, the guest house breathes with strangers. A noble traveler may receive better lodging. A cleric may be treated with formal respect. A poor pilgrim may receive simpler shelter. A messenger may sleep lightly, knowing he must leave again at first light. They are inside the monastery's care, but not inside its deepest silence. They do not sleep in the monk's dormitory. They do not share the full life of the cloister. They are near the holy rhythm, but still partly of the road. A traveler may lie awake under a rough blanket, hearing sounds he does not understand, low chanting through stone, a door closing, footsteps in the dark, the unfamiliar quiet of holy walls. For some guests, the monastery is relief. For others, it is only a pause. The road will reclaim them tomorrow. Nearby, the kitchen has not entirely forgotten the day. Embers must be banked, ashes must be watched. In a medieval complex filled with timber roofs, straw bedding, stored grain, wooden tools, hanging cloth, and oil lamps, fire is both necessity and threat. One careless spark can undo years of work. The kitchen is quieter now, but not innocent. It still smells of smoke, onions, ale, bread, fish, herbs, grease, and damp wood. Pots have been moved aside, bowls rinsed, tables wiped, scraps gathered. Water set aside for morning. Someone may still be finishing the last unpleasant tasks that holy order depends on, but rarely celebrates. The monastery's prayer is supported by hands that scrape, lift, carry, scrub, and remember. The same is true beyond the kitchen. In the barns and stables, animals do not know that Compline has been sung. Horses stir, cattle press together for warmth, hens sleep in darker corners, pigs grunt softly. Hay gives off its dry scent. Leather, dung, straw, and animal heat gather under low roofs. These animals are part of the monastery's survival. They pull, carry, feed, fertilize, and measure wealth in ways more reliable than coins. A monastery may be a house of prayer, but it is also a farm, storehouse, employer, landlord, and working estate. Night hides these worries. It does not remove them. Now move inward again, toward the church. The sacristan's responsibilities may continue after others sleep. The sacred space must be ready for the night office. Books must be placed or protected, lamps and candles prepared, bells made usable. Vestments, vessels, keys, and cloths accounted for. Sacred things are never only symbolic. They have weight. They have location. They can be dropped, stained, stolen, forgotten, or damaged by damp, flame, insects, or careless hands. So the sacristan remembers. He may move quietly through the dark church, checking what others will simply expect to be ready. The altar stands in shadow. The choir stalls wait. A candle may be trimmed, a book may be covered, a lamp may be watched. For prayer to feel timeless, someone must do timely work. Someone must know where the book is. Someone must make sure the flame is safe. Someone must pull the bell at the right hour. Holiness does not remove logistics. It depends on them. In another part of the monastery, the infirmary keeps its own night. It may be quieter and sometimes warmer than the main dormitory. It is a place for the sick, the elderly, the weak, and those who cannot follow the full demands of the common routine. A monk with fever may lie under heavier covering. An old brother may sleep apart because his body no longer rises easily. The infirmar's work is practical and compassionate, though shaped by the medical understanding of the time. He may know herbs from the garden. He may know which brother needs broth, which one can manage bread, which one needs warmth, and which one is failing. He may also know fear. A sick room at night carries a different silence. Breathing becomes something to listen to. A cough has meaning. A fevered murmur has meaning. When a monk grows very ill, the community sees more than a medical problem. It sees confession, anointing, prayer, judgment, and the possibility of death before morning. This is not modern medicine. There are no antibiotics, no modern surgery, no clear knowledge of germs. But there is care. There is observation. There is warmth, where possible. There is prayer. There is memory of which plants soothe, which foods strengthen, and which symptoms mean danger. Somewhere, a sick brother turns. Someone hears him. A cup is lifted. A blanket is adjusted. A whispered word may pass, because necessity has its own permission. The great silence is real, but mercy is real too. Beyond the infirmary, the rest of the monastery lies in layers. The cloister is damp and dark. The chapter house waits with its benches in memory of correction. The refectory cools after supper. The kitchens settle into smoke and ash. The barns breathe with animals. The guest house holds the road inside its walls. The cemetery lies under the night. And the church waits for voices. The monastery is sleeping in pieces. Some parts rest. Some parts watch. Some parts remember. Some parts prepare. Above all of them is the schedule, invisible but powerful. The night office is coming. The bell has not rung yet, but the whole place is already arranged around the fact that it will. This is what makes monastic night different from ordinary night. Outside the walls, people sleep because the day has exhausted them, and darkness limits what can be done. Inside, the monks sleep because sleep has been permitted between prayers. Rest is not simply taken, it is fitted into a pattern. The porter listens. The sick breathe. The guest turns beneath his blanket. The embers lower. The animals shift. The sacristan remembers. The dormitory breathes in rows. The church waits. For a while, nothing dramatic happens. That is part of the truth. Most nights in a monastery are not filled with miracles, visions, or disasters. Most nights are made of ordinary watchfulness, a cough that settles, a spark that does not spread, a gate that remains closed, a candle that burns safely, a bell rope waiting in stillness. The quiet is successful because nothing breaks it, and yet the quiet is never empty. It is full of responsibility. Peace is duty held in order. Peace is the gate watched. Peace is the flame guarded. Peace is the sick tended. Peace is the guest sheltered. Peace is the book ready. Peace is the bell waiting for the hour. That kind of peace is not soft. It is disciplined. It has cold hands. It has tired eyes. It smells of smoke, wool, straw, damp stone, animal breath, and candle wax. The night has deepened. The monastery has settled. The hidden labor continues. And the hour of waking draws closer. The hour of waking draws closer. The monastery is deep in night now. The first sleep has settled over the dormitory. Breathing has grown slow. Blankets are pulled close. The cold presses against wool, straw, wood, and skin. For a while, the house seems almost still. Almost. Because time is moving. Somewhere in the dark, the bell waits. The night office may be called matins or vigils, depending on time, place, order, and custom. It is the great prayer of the dark hours, the office that pulls monks out of sleep while most of the world remains behind shutters or beside banked fires. It is not an easy office. That is part of its meaning. To wake in the night is to give up one of the body's deepest wishes. The body wants warmth, darkness, and forgetting. The rule asks for song, attention, and obedience. Then the bell sounds. It breaks the dark with a weight that seems larger than the tower that holds it. The sound travels through the monastery, across the sleeping court, and into the dormitory. A brother stirs. Another turns. Someone inhales sharply, pulled from a dream. A young monk opens his eyes and, for one suspended breath, does not know where he is. Then he remembers. The monastery. The rule. The night office. The dormitory begins to move. Blankets shift. Feet find the floor. Cloth is gathered. A cough cuts the cold air. A bed creaks. Someone moves too slowly, and another brother notices without speaking. The great silence still lies over the house. The cold is sharper now. It touches the face first, then the hands, then the feet. A monk may have been warm beneath his blanket, but the moment he rises, warmth is taken from him. Still, he rises. The night office matters. In the rule of St. Benedict, nothing is to be preferred to the work of God, meaning the ordered prayer of the community. Sleep matters, food matters, labor matters. But when the bell calls, the office comes first. The monks gather themselves quickly. Sandals or shoes are found. Garments are pulled close. Hands move by memory. The darkness is familiar, and familiarity is part of discipline. Then they move toward the night stair. It becomes a narrow passage between sleep and prayer. One by one, the brothers descend. A wall brushes a sleeve. A foot touches worn stone. The procession is quiet but full of small sounds. Breathing, fabric, wood, stone, and the almost silent effort of tired bodies obeying. The church waits below. When they enter, the darkness feels larger than it did at Compline. Candles or lamps are prepared, but the building is still mostly shadow. The altar is dim. The choir stalls are dark shapes. The windows show little or nothing of the world outside. The brothers take their places. Even half awake, the body remembers. The night office begins. At first, the sound feels fragile, as if the voices must be called fully back from sleep. Then the chant steadies. One side of the choir answers the other. Psalms rise into the dark. Antiphons frame them. Readings may follow. Responsories answer. The monastery is awake in the darkness to praise, watch, remember, and wait. The world outside still sleeps. But here, voices rise. This is the heart of the monastic night. Tired men standing in a cold church, singing ancient words before dawn. The sound is different at night. During Vespers, the day was fading. At Compline, the house was closing. But now, there is no day left to lean on. The darkness is complete. The chant enters the night itself. A psalm begins. A line crosses the choir. Another line answers. The stone receives it. The words may speak of watchfulness, mercy, fear, trust, judgment, praise, and deliverance. The Psalms are wide enough to hold nearly every human feeling. A monk can sing words of confidence while feeling afraid. He can sing words of repentance while half numb with sleep. The office does not require perfect feeling. It requires presence. That is difficult enough. Some brothers stand straight by long habit, others struggle. A novice may fight sleep so hard that the effort becomes painful. His head dips, then lifts. He loses the thread, finds it again, and prays no one noticed. Someone noticed. Someone always notices. But correction can wait. For now, the psalm continues. An older monk may know this darkness as an old companion. He has been woken by this bell through summer nights, winter nights, storm nights, feast nights, and ordinary nights when nothing happened except obedience. His voice may be weaker now, but it is still there. The readings bring another texture to the office. A brother reads by prepared light. The words may come from scripture, commentary, or the lives and sermons of holy writers. In the dark, reading is an act of trust. The listener receives what he cannot see. The voice becomes a thread through the cold. The community listens, or tries to listen. Sleep pulls at the edges of the mind. The body remembers the bed. The hands are cold. The feet may ache. A brother may think of an unfinished task, a fault to confess, or the simple wish to lie down again. Then the chant returns. Psalms, antiphons, readings, responses, silence, more chant. The office may be long, especially on Sundays, feast days, or winter nights when darkness feels immense. At times, the service seems to exist outside ordinary measure, as if the whole monastery has been placed inside one extended breath. The drama is quiet. A man wants sleep and gives attention. A man wants warmth and stands in cold. A man wants private thought and joins common prayer. A man wants to remain himself and is asked to become one voice among many. That is the drama of Matins. The night office teaches that devotion is not always a feeling. Sometimes it is a body in the right place at the right hour, saying the words it has been given. The church remains dark. Candles tremble. The monks chant. Outside, the monastery's other lives remain quiet. The porter may hear the bell and know the choir has risen. A guest may wake briefly, confused by the sound, then turn beneath his blanket. A sick brother may hear faint chanting through walls or memory, unable to join but not entirely separated. The cemetery lies under the same night, holding men who once stood in those stalls. The monks sing where the dead once sang. They stand in places shaped by men who are gone. Each monk is temporary. The prayer is meant to be ongoing. A man may vanish from the dormitory, but the bell will still ring. His stall will be filled. His name may be read, remembered, and prayed for. The chant will move on. That can be humbling. It can also be comforting. The office nears a pause. Silence falls. Not empty silence. Listened silence. The kind of silence that follows sound and still seems to hold it. In that pause, the cold becomes obvious again. A brother feels his fingers. Another shifts weight quietly. Another lowers his head and tries to keep his attention from scattering. Then the next voice begins. The night continues. There is a strange intimacy in being awake when almost no one else is. The monks may not speak casually, but they share the knowledge of standing together in darkness. Cold together. Tired together. Obedient together. Awake together. The chant moves on, steady and low. The first shock of waking begins to fade. The body adjusts, sleep retreats, the mind clears a little. The cold remains, but it becomes part of the room instead of an enemy. A novice who struggled at the beginning may find himself carried by the sound. An older monk may move through the Psalms almost as through a familiar landscape. A tired brother may still wish for bed, but the wish is quieter now. This is one reason repetition matters. A single night office might feel impossible. A lifetime of them becomes a path. Not easy. Not always joyful. But known. The final portions of the office approach. The readings have been heard. The psalms have been sung. The responses have faded into the high dark of the church. The brothers remain until the office completes its appointed shape. No one leaves because he has heard enough. The ending belongs to the rule, not to impatience. At last, the sound gathers toward conclusion. A prayer. A pause. A shared breath. The church grows quiet again. For a moment, no one moves. The monastery has offered its wakefulness into the night. The brothers are tired, but the tiredness is different now. It has been broken open by song. They are no longer simply men dragged from sleep. They have stood in the cold and done what the bell required. Soon, they may return to the dormitory for more sleep, or remain nearer to prayer and reading as dawn approaches. Whatever comes next, the night is changed. It has been marked. It has been divided. It has been answered. The brothers begin to leave the choir. Their steps are careful. The church holds the last trace of their voices. The candles still tremble. The windows are dark, but somewhere beyond them the world is moving, slowly and invisibly, toward dawn. The bell is silent again. For now. But its work has been done. It has pulled the monastery out of sleep and returned it to its purpose. And in the cold after Matins, as the brothers move through shadow, the night feels both deeper and closer to ending. The night feels both deeper and closer to ending. After Matins, the monastery does not return to simple silence. Something has changed. The brothers have been pulled from sleep, gathered in the church, and set back into the dark, with psalms still moving through the mind. The body is tired. The soul is awake in a different way. This is the hour when a monk may feel most alone, even while surrounded by brothers. The office has ended, but the thoughts it stirred do not end with it. Mercy, judgment, fear, trust, watchfulness, deliverance. The Psalms have a way of reaching places ordinary speech does not. A monk returns through the dark with his brothers, but inside himself he may be walking somewhere else. Perhaps he remembers his family. Perhaps he remembers the house he left behind. Perhaps he entered as a child, offered by parents who believed they were giving him to God. Perhaps he entered as a young man after grief, ambition, fear, guilt, or real devotion moved him toward the cloister. The reasons do not disappear just because vows have been spoken. At night, memory grows stronger. By daylight, labor gives the mind a task. The garden, the kitchen, the book, the guest, the abbot's instruction, the chant, the bell, the next duty. All these keep thought moving in ordered channels. But after the night office, memory can open quietly. A mother's voice, a father's hand, a field at harvest, a road taken years ago and never taken back. The monastery asks a man to remain. Stability is one of the deep promises of the Benedictine life. To stay, to be formed in one place, to stop wandering outward and begin the harder wandering inward. But staying in one place does not mean the heart stops traveling. This does not make him false. It makes him human. The medieval monastery is often imagined as a place of peace, and sometimes it is. But peace here is not the absence of struggle, it is the ordering of struggle. The monk does not leave fear, pride, boredom, longing, envy, irritation, or desire at the gate. He brings them inside, and then spends years learning what they are. Some struggles have names. One of them is acedia. Acedia can mean spiritual weariness, restlessness, listlessness, disgust with one's duties, a heavy sadness of the soul, or a temptation to flee the life one is promised to live. It may come quietly. A monk looks at the same walls and feels trapped. He hears the same psalms and feels nothing. He thinks the office is too long. He thinks the food is too plain. He thinks the abbot is unfair. He thinks the world outside might have held a different life. Then he is ashamed of thinking it. Acedia does not always look dramatic. It may look like a sigh, a slow response to the bell, a wandering eye, or a private wish that the rule would bend just this once. In the night, such thoughts can grow. The monastery knows this too. That is why the life is not built around mood, it is built around practice. A monk may feel devotion or not, he still rises. He may feel peace or not, he still chants. He may feel holy or not, he still bows, listens, confesses, eats, works, and returns. The structure is there for the days when the heart cannot be trusted to guide itself. This can sound severe. It can also be merciful. If the monk's life depended only on inspiration, it would collapse. So the bell rings for him, the office gives him words, the rule gives him shape, the community gives him witnesses. Even his failures have a place to be named. Confession matters in this world. In the chapter house by day, a brother may hear the rule read, he may receive correction, he may confess a fault, he may be reminded that obedience is not theory. The night carries the memory of those corrections. A monk lying awake may replay a glance from the prior, a word from the abbot, a moment when he arrived late, a task done carelessly, a feeling of anger he did not speak but did not master. The monastery trains the conscience to notice small things. That can purify a man. It could also burden him. Some monks were deeply devout. Some were intelligent and ambitious. Some were anxious. Some were obedient by temperament. Some struggled every day. Some found joy in learning, chant, gardening, service to the sick, books, or the simple fact of being fed and sheltered in a dangerous world. No monastery is made only of saints. No monastery is made only of hypocrites. It is made of human beings under vows. The vows press differently on different men. Obedience may be hardest for the proud. Stability may be hardest for the restless. Chastity may be hardest for the lonely. Poverty may be hardest for the man who once knew comfort. Silence may be hardest for the man whose thoughts are loud. And night reveals which struggle has followed each brother into bed. For a medieval monk, fear is not only fear of discomfort. There is fear of sin, judgment, dying unprepared, demonic temptation, failing the rule, scandal, and pride hidden beneath good works. The spiritual world is not distant to him. Angels, demons, saints, relics, prayers for the dead, judgment of the soul, the Virgin Mary, and the intercession of holy men and women form the atmosphere of his life. He does not imagine himself as a sealed modern individual. He lives inside a crowded spiritual universe. This can make the night frightening. A dream may trouble him. A sudden thought may feel like temptation. A creak in the dark may startle the mind. A memory of the dead may turn into prayer. But the same world that frightens him also comforts him. He is not alone because the saints are near. He is not alone because the brothers pray with him. He is not alone because the dead are remembered. He is not alone because the offices return. After Matins, some brothers may return toward the dormitory. Others, depending on custom and hour, may remain closer to reading, prayer, or waiting for Lauds as dawn approaches. The exact pattern varies, but the inner experience remains. The night has been opened. A man may lie down again and find sleep changed. Before the bell, sleep was simple need. After Matins, sleep may feel like a gift briefly returned. He may sink into it quickly, warmed by exhaustion. Or he may remain awake, unable to quiet the words he has just sung. The darkness around him is the same, but his mind is not. Perhaps he thinks of death. Not in panic necessarily, more as a fact. The cemetery is nearby. The infirmary is not far. Brothers have died. More will die. He will die too. Medieval monastic life keeps death close through daily offices, prayers for the dead, anniversaries, burial grounds, and the frailty of bodies. That awareness can sharpen fear. It can also sharpen gratitude. A man who expects to die someday may notice a bowl of warm food more clearly. He may notice candlelight more tenderly. He may notice another brother's voice and understand that it will not last forever. This is one of the quiet lessons of the night. Nothing here belongs to anyone permanently. Not the bed, not the stall, not the book, not the voice, not the body. All are held for a time, then returned. For the monk who believes deeply, this is not despair, it is training. The monastery teaches him to let go before death forces him to do it all at once. Let go of speech. Let go of comfort. Let go of personal will. Let go of sleep. Let go of anger. Let go of the world outside. Let go, finally, of the self that insists on being the center. Of course, no one lets go perfectly. That is why the bell keeps ringing. That is why the psalms keep returning. That is why the rule is read again. That is why correction happens again. The monastery does not expect one night to make a saint. It expects repetition to wear a path through resistance. In the darkness after Matins, this becomes clearer than it is by day. The whole life is made of returning. Return to prayer. Return to silence. Return to obedience. Return to work. Return to confession. Return to the choir. Return to the bed. Return to the bell. A restless monk may dislike this. A tired monk may need it. The same rhythm can feel like a chain one night and a handrail the next. That is the honest truth of cloistered life. It is not one feeling. It is a form strong enough to contain many feelings. The night deepens around the monastery, but the first hint of morning is somewhere ahead, still invisible. The windows are dark. The cloister is black. The roofs hold mist. The fields beyond the wall lie hidden. But time has turned. The deepest part of night has been answered. The monk who lies awake now is not the same as the man who first closed his eyes after Compline. He has been woken, chilled, gathered, and made to sing. He has stood where the dead once stood. He has joined his voice to men he may love, resent, admire, misunderstand, and depend on. He has remembered that his own soul is not private property. It belongs to God. It is shaped by the community. It is tested by the night. And it is carried again and again by words older than his own worries. For now, he may rest. For now, the dormitory may settle again. For now, the monastery holds its breath between offices. But the inner work does not stop. Even in silence, the monk is being formed. Even in weariness, the rule is working on him. Even in darkness, the night is teaching. Even in darkness, the night is teaching. After Matins, the monastery settles into the strange quiet that comes after voices have filled the church and faded again. The brothers have sung in the cold. They have stood where generations stood before them. Now, the house holds the last trace of their prayer like warmth held briefly in stone. The night is not over, but it has changed. The deepest darkness has been answered. Depending on the season, order, and custom of the house, some monks may return to the dormitory for more sleep. Others may remain closer to prayer, reading, or waiting until Lauds begins near dawn. Medieval monastic schedules were not identical everywhere. But whatever the exact custom, the monastery now seems suspended between sleep and morning. The cloister receives the brothers again. The covered walk is dark and damp. The garth is nearly black except for a faint paleness in the sky above it. The arches repeat into shadow. Footsteps move carefully. The air smells of cold stone, wet earth, wool, old smoke, and candle wax. By day, the cloister can feel orderly and open. At night, it becomes more inward. The same stones are there, the same paths, the same doors. But darkness changes their meaning. A familiar corner feels deeper. The open garth feels like a small piece of night held inside the monastery walls. The brothers do not speak unless they must. The great silence still holds. A monk may pass the chapter house door and remember what waits there by daylight. In the morning, the community may gather to hear the rule, receive instruction, confess faults, hear assignments, or attend to business. But now the door is closed. The benches are empty. The darkness keeps the morning's corrections hidden for a little longer. Nearby, the refectory is cooling after supper. The tables are cleared. The reader's voice is gone. The smell of bread, ale, and cooked vegetables lingers faintly, with damp wood and old smoke. The kitchen, too, is low and quiet. Only embers. Only settled ash. Only the memory of heat. Farther away, the guest house holds its sleepers. A traveler may have woken during the bell, heard the hidden singing of the monks, and turned over again without understanding the full shape of what he heard. To him, the monastery may feel like a guarded island in the dark. The infirmary keeps another kind of watch. A sick brother may have heard the night office from his bed, not as full words, but as a low movement of sound through walls and memory. He may have once stood in the choir himself. Now he lies apart. The community continues without him, but not without remembering him. That is another lesson of the monastery at night. Absence is noticed. The empty stall, the missing voice, the bed in the infirmary, the name in the prayers, the grave in the cemetery. All of these belong to the same house. If you drift toward the church again, the space feels different without the full choir inside it. The altar stands in shadow. The stalls are empty. Books may rest closed where they were used, or be returned carefully to their place. Candles burn lower, or are extinguished according to need. A lamp may remain. The church is quiet, but it does not feel abandoned. A medieval church inside a monastery is never just an empty room between services. It is the center of the whole life. The brothers return to it again and again until the building seems to hold their days, vows, illnesses, feast days, funerals, failures, and best attempts at prayer. The stones are not alive, but memory makes them feel inhabited. Near the choir, the books matter deeply. A monastery's night is shaped not only by bells and voices, but by written words, psalters, antiphonaries, lectionaries, sermons, rules, martyrologies, and other books may guide what is sung, read, remembered, and repeated. Books here are not casual possessions. They are labor made visible. Parchment had to be prepared, ink mixed, lines ruled, letters formed, bindings protected, pages handled with care. Not every monk is a famous scribe, and not every monastery is a great center of book production. But books still carry weight in this life. A book can be the voice of a man long dead. A book can tell the community what to sing. A book can preserve the names of donors. A book can record land, rents, gifts, disputes, and obligations. In the night, closed books feel almost asleep. Spoken chant vanishes into air. Written words wait. They give the monastery memory beyond the mind of any single monk. Care is necessary. Damp can damage. Fire can destroy. Mice, insects, neglect, theft, and rough handling can undo years of work. A manuscript is not simply information. It is material, time, animal skin, pigment, labor, and devotion. The same is true of relics, if the house possesses them. A relic may be a bone, a fragment of cloth, an object associated with a saint, or something believed to carry holy presence through contact with the sacred dead. Relics could draw pilgrims, gifts, prestige, and devotion. They could also invite rivalry, doubt, theft, or dispute. At night, a reliquary may rest in shadow. A lamp may burn nearby. The saint is not imagined as gone in the modern sense. The saint intercedes. The saint is remembered. The saint's presence gives the community a sense of nearness to heaven. This nearness is part of what makes the monastery feel different after Matins. The monks have sung where relics may rest. They have prayed near the dead. They have asked mercy in a building filled with memory. If you pass outside toward the cemetery, the night opens differently. The cemetery may lie near the church, within the monastic precinct, close enough that the living pass the dead often. The graves may be simple. Some abbots or patrons may receive more prominent burial, but many brothers rest under modest markers, or earth remembered more by prayer than by display. The cemetery at night is not merely frightening. It is honest. It says what the monastery says in 1,000 ways. Your life is brief, your body will return to earth, and your name must be carried by prayer. The cemetery is the final dormitory of the community. The brothers who lie there no longer rise for matins. Their voices are gone from the choir. Their beds have passed to others. Their duties have been reassigned. Yet they remain part of the monastery. They are prayed for. They are remembered. They are warnings. They are companions. They are proof that the rhythm outlasts the individual. No one speaks. There is nothing to add. The garden will be tended, the kitchen will heat, the books will open, the bell will ring, new novices will learn where to stand. Old monks will be carried to the infirmary, guests will come and go, the cemetery will receive more names. That is not despair. It is continuity. Return now toward the cloister. The night is thinning, though not yet brightening. Before dawn, the world changes by degrees too small to notice until they have already happened. The air shifts. A bird may call once, then stop. The sky above the garth may no longer look completely black. The monastery waits in that almost light. Some brothers may have returned to sleep. Some may remain wakeful. Some may be reading quietly where custom allows. Some may be too tired to think clearly. All are being carried toward Lauds. Lauds is the office near dawn, the prayer of first light. It is not here yet, but the night has begun to lean toward it. Matins answered the deep darkness. Lauds will greet the returning day. Between the two, the monastery seems to hold its breath. The church waits. The cloister waits. The chapter house waits. The refectory waits. The books wait. The cemetery waits. Even the bell waits. And in this waiting, the monastery shows one of its deepest truths. It is not only a place where things happen, it is a place where things are kept. Prayers are kept. Names are kept. Books are kept. Rules are kept. Memories are kept. Silence is kept. The dead are kept. The night itself is kept, divided by bells and guarded by voices. Inside this monastery, history feels like something stored in stone, repeated in sound, written on skin, buried in earth, and carried in the habits of tired men. The brothers do not need to think of it this way. They simply live it. A sleeve brushes a wall. A page waits under a cover. A candle gives its last thin light. A sick man turns in the infirmary. A guest dreams of the road. The night continues, but it is no longer endless. Somewhere beyond the walls, fields lie under mist. Trees stand still. A village sleeps. A road waits for feet, hooves, wheels, and risk. The world has not changed simply because monks have prayed through the dark. And yet, inside the monastery, the dark has been answered. The brothers have not conquered night. They have kept vigil inside it. That is enough. For now, the stones hold the cold. The books hold their words. The graves hold their dead. The cloister holds its damp silence. And the bell holds back its next command. Morning is not visible yet, but it is coming. Morning is not visible yet, but it is coming. The monastery waits in the final darkness before dawn. The windows are still dark, the cloister is damp. The church still holds cold in its stones. The fields beyond the wall are hidden beneath mist, and the road outside remains empty for a little longer. But something has shifted. The deepest part of night has passed. The brothers may feel it before they see it. The air is still cold, still sharp against the face and hands, but it no longer feels endless. Somewhere beyond the walls, a bird calls once, then goes quiet. In the guest house, a traveler turns beneath his blanket. In the barns, animals stir with the instinct that knows morning before the human eye can find it. The bell waits. Then it calls again. This is Lauds, the prayer near dawn, the office that greets the returning day. If Matins belong to deep darkness, Lauds belongs to the edge of morning. The brothers gather once more. Some have slept briefly, some have remained wakeful. Some come heavy-eyed from the dormitory. Some come with stiff knees, cold fingers, and the weight of broken sleep. But they come. That is the rhythm. The church receives them again. It is not bright yet. Candles still matter. Lamps still hold back the darkness in small circles. But the windows no longer feel completely sealed. A faint grayness waits behind them. Not light exactly, more like the idea of light. The brothers take their places in the choir. The stalls know them. The floor knows their steps. The stones know their voices. Lauds begins. The sound is still tired, but different from Matins. There is less struggle against the absolute dark. The words rise toward morning now. Praise becomes easier to imagine when the night is loosening its grip. A line is sung. A line answers. The church gives the sound back softly. The cold remains. The body still aches. A novice still fights sleep. An older monk still shifts his weight carefully. Yet the office carries a new edge of hope. Not dramatic. Not triumphant. Just steady, gray, and quiet. The kind of hope that arrives before the sun. By Lauds, the monastery has survived the night. The gate has held. The fires have not spread. The sick have made it closer to morning. The guests are still sheltered. The animals are still breathing in their stalls. The books are safe. The church is ready. These may seem like small mercies. In a medieval world, they are not small. A quiet night is a gift. A contained fire is a gift. A breath that continues is a gift. A wall that holds is a gift. So they sing. Beyond the church, the monastery begins to wake in layers. The kitchen will need fire again. Water must be carried. Bread must be prepared. Animals must be fed. Guests must be tended. The infirmary must be visited. The poor may come to the gate. Tools will be taken up. Books will open. The chapter house will gather the community. But not yet. For this short span, the monastery stands at the seam between night and day. Lauds holds that seam. The prayers rise as the windows slowly pale. First, the darkness becomes less dense. Then the shapes of the windows sharpen. Then the wall separates from the shadow around it. A face across the choir becomes more visible. A hand on a book, the edge of a sleeve, the curve of a bowed head. The world returns by degrees. No one has commanded it. No one has earned it. Morning simply comes. And the monks are there to meet it. The monastery does not create the dawn. It receives it with praise. It takes the ordinary return of light and places it inside a rhythm of gratitude. The final prayers of Lauds gather the morning. The church is no longer purely dark. The candles look weaker now, not because their flames have changed, but because the world around them has begun to brighten. The altar emerges from shadow. The choir stalls regain their worn surfaces. The breath of the monks no longer feels like the only motion in the world. Outside, the first birds begin in earnest. A horse shifts and stamps. A servant opens a door. Someone near the kitchen handles wood. The porter looks toward the gate. The guest house begins to stir. The infirmer checks the sick. The cemetery receives the first gray light, without changing at all. The dead remain where they are. The living rise around them. The office comes to its close. For a moment, the church holds the last sound. Then silence returns. This silence is not the same as the silence after Compline or Matins. After Compline, silence closed the day. After Matins, silence held the answered darkness. After Lauds, silence opens. It makes room for the day. The brothers begin to move. Soon there may be prime, the office that marks the beginning of the working day in many monastic patterns. Soon there will be chapter, labor, study, reading, administration, cooking, cleaning, tending, correcting, receiving, mending, and repeating. But for this moment, it is enough to watch the first light settle over the house. The cloister appears slowly. The garth returns from blackness into shape. Grass shows itself, wet and pale. Arches regain their edges. A few drops of water cling to stone. The air smells of morning cold, wet earth, old smoke, and something faintly green. The chapter house door is no longer only a dark shape. The refectory waits for another meal. The kitchen smoke begins again. The barns warm with animal breath. The guest house releases soft human noises. The infirmary remains quieter but not still. The monastery is becoming visible to itself. Night hid its full body. Dawn gives it back piece by piece. This is where the meaning of the whole night becomes clearer. A night in a medieval monastery is not simply peaceful. It is cold, it is strict, it is interrupted, it is communal. It offers shelter but not privacy. It offers food but not indulgence. It offers learning but not freedom in the modern sense. It offers purpose but demands obedience. It is refuge. It is discipline. It is household. It is farm. It is archive. It is hospital. It is church. It is cemetery. It is a machine of prayer built from tired bodies, cold stone, written words, stored grain, watched fires, and bells that do not care whether anyone feels ready. And yet, there is beauty here. Not easy beauty. A harder kind. The beauty of a candle kept alive through darkness. The beauty of voices rising when the body wants sleep. The beauty of bread eaten in silence because appetite has been given a shape. The beauty of a sick man not forgotten. The beauty of a stranger sheltered from the road. The beauty of books preserved by careful hands. The beauty of graves remembered by name. The beauty of mourning received as a gift. That is the monastery's night. Not a perfect world. Not a gentle world. But a world that tries hour by hour to turn human weakness toward prayer. As dawn grows clearer, the monks move into the day. Their night is not a story they will retell dramatically. It is simply what the life requires. They will do it again tonight, and tomorrow, and the night after, unless illness, travel, death, reform, war, fire, or history itself interrupts the pattern. A novice may remember this night as difficult. An old monk may barely distinguish it from 1,000 others. A guest may leave with only a strange memory of bells in the dark. A sick brother may be grateful just to see the light again. The porter will open the gate. The kitchen will feed the house. The cellarer will worry over supplies. The sacristan will prepare what must be prepared. The abbot will govern. The prior will notice. The books will wait for hands. The cemetery will wait without impatience. And the bell will remain above it all, silent for now, but never meaningless. By full morning, the monastery may look ordinary again. Stone buildings, wet grass, smoke rising, men in habits moving through repeated tasks. But if you remember the night, you know the ordinary surface hides a deep rhythm. You know that while the world slept, the monks woke. While the road was dark, the church held voices. While the fires lowered, someone watched. While the sick turned in their beds, someone listened. While the dead lay still, their names remained near prayer. And while darkness covered the fields, the bell divided the night into moments that could be endured, offered, and answered. Now the sun has not fully risen, but the day has begun. The monastery has passed through darkness and returned to work. The brothers are tired. The stones are cold. The prayers are finished only for now. And the rhythm continues. So as we leave this medieval monastery in the first gray light, maybe carry with you that final image, a quiet cloister opening to dawn, wet grass in the center, smoke rising beyond the kitchen roof, tired monks moving silently through the arches, and the church behind them, still holding the memory of song. And if you enjoyed this slow walk through the night, take a moment to like the video and subscribe for more calm journeys through history. Thanks for being here. Rest well, and I'll see you in the next one.